Myself, Tanmoy Dotto, Assistant Professor, Department of Chemistry, JIS College of Engineering. Welcome you all in my first lecture of spectroscopy, that is the UV visible spectroscopy. So today we'll discuss about the first of all we'll discuss about the basic principle of the UV visible spectroscopy. So we'll discuss today at first, that is the basic principle. Okay, so what is the basic principle of the UV visible spectroscopy? Okay, so this is the first point which we will discuss. Basic principle of the UV visible spectroscopy. UV visible spectroscopy. Second, we'll discuss about there are some kinds of shift occur, like bathochromic shift, hypsochromic shift, etc., etc. That's we'll discuss about we'll discuss about that things also. Third, we'll discuss about the concept of the HOMO and LUMO. That is very important, which you have to know that what is the HOMO LUMO, because depending on this factor we have to discuss all that things. Okay, so third we'll discuss about the application of the UV visible spectroscopy. So this is the application part. So what is the application of the UV visible spectroscopy? So this is the main thing, that is the basic principle. In the basic principle, so many things are covered, like starting from your Lambert-Beer's law to your generation of the spectrum, and then there are different kinds of shifts are there. All that things will be covered in the basic principle part. Then in the basic principle part also there is an important part, that is the HOMO-LUMO part, and the third part is the application of the spectroscopy. So that all the things we will discuss today. So let's start the class. So look here, before going to discuss about the spectroscopy, first of all you have to know that what is the spectroscopy. It is the very basic term and very important term also. Okay, so you have to know that what is the spectroscopy. So generally we can define in a simple way that a spectroscopy is a method of analysis based on the interaction of light with matter, okay, or interaction, absorption or production of light with matter. Or simply you can tell that spectroscopy means it is the interaction of light with matter. Okay, in this way we can define the spectroscopy. So now come to the point. Hence in the definition it is mentioned that spectroscopy is the interaction of light with matter. So obviously we have to know that what is the light. So light is the electromagnetic radiation, isn't it? So light is the electromagnetic radiation. So now if light is the electromagnetic radiation, so it must related with some kinds of specific terms. Specific terms means there must be some wavelength, there must be some frequency, there must be some wave number. So all the terms now are very important, and you have to know what is the meaning of each and every term, because throughout the spectroscopy we will discuss each and every term in several times. Okay, so repeatedly we'll use the term. So before going to discuss about the chapter, about the knowledge, about the concept of the spectroscopy, you have to know that what is the inner meaning or what is the concept of the lambda, nu and nu bar. So first of all, what is the lambda or what is the wavelength? So look here, if we consider the wavelength, so wavelength means this is the distance between the two peaks, okay, two corresponding peaks. This is the distance, or distance from one peak to another peak. So this distance, it is called actually wavelength. Okay, so the wave means this is like a electromagnetic wave. Okay, so it is flowing like that. So if it is flowing like that, then obviously wavelength means it is the distance between the two peaks, two corresponding peaks, that is called, this is called actually wavelength, and it is generally represented is the by the lambda, and you know that hence it is the distance between the two peaks. So that means the unit of the spectroscopy will be, obviously it will be either centimeter, either nanometer, either picometer, either meter, whatever. Okay, so distance of the any of the unit of the distance will be the unit of the spectroscopy, a unit of the wavelength. Now come to the next term, that is the frequency. Okay, so frequency is the number of cycles or number of cycles or of the oscillations per second. So in per second, how many complete cycle means from here to here. So how many complete cycles are there in per unit second, okay, or per unit time, that is called actually frequency. Okay, so you know the hertz is the unit of the frequency. Now what is the wave number? Wave number is the number of complete cycle or complete wave, but per unit distance. Okay, so there is a difference between frequency and wave number. Frequency is measured normally the number of cycles per unit second, but wave number is normally determined by the number of waves per unit distance. So these are the difference between the two terms you have to keep in mind. Okay, so now there is some kinds of relation also in between lambda, in between nu, in between nu bar, etc., which we have to know. There is also another term which you have to know, that is the amplitude. Okay, so now what is the amplitude? So if we talk about the amplitude, then you have to know that the distance between from here to here. Okay, so this is called the amplitude. Okay, so for each and every case it is generally represented as the a. So what is the distance between from here to here? This is called actually amplitude. So amplitude is also important, you have to keep in mind that what is the amplitude. Now we will move to the relationship between different terms, okay, which are very important and which you have to keep in mind. Okay, so if we think about first of all that the relationship between lambda and the nu, then lambda is equal to c by nu. That means wavelength equals to c. What is the c? C is the velocity of the light. Okay, and nu, you know, nu is the frequency, and wave number, what is the nu bar? Nu bar is the wave number. So nu bar is equal to 1 by lambda. You have to keep in mind, this is very important, that the 1 by lambda equals to nu bar. Okay, you have to keep in mind this fact. Okay, this is also important. So if you know these two equation, that lambda is equal to c by nu, and or nu is equal to c lambda, and nu bar is equal to 1 by lambda, then I think it will be more, or another equation, that E equals to h nu. This is also you have to keep in mind. You know, I think E is equal to h nu. These things also you have to keep in mind. Okay, so that three equations you have to keep in mind, which is very important for the remaining topics. Okay, so if you know that these three things, then it will be more helpful to understand the next topics. Okay, so now in the case of UV visible spectroscopy, you know that there are some range of the light or radiation. Okay, so what I told you that the what is the meaning of the spectroscopy? That interaction of light with matter. Okay, this is the definition of the spectroscopy. Or if it is the UV visible, in your syllabus there are three types of spectroscopy. Spectroscopies are included. First one is the UV visible spectroscopy, second one is the IR or the infrared spectroscopy, and the third one is the NMR or nuclear magnetic resonance spectroscopy. So if you consider the first one is the ultraviolet or UV visible spectroscopy. So if you consider the UV visible spectroscopy, then it has a particular range also. The range is that approximately 1902 400 nanometer, or roughly we can take as the 2000 angstrom to it will be 4000 angstrom. Okay, 2000 to 4000 angstrom. This is the UV range, and visible range will be 4000 to approximately 7500. Okay, so overall UV visible means total 2000 angstrom or 200 nanometer or 190 nanometer to approximately 800 nanometer or 8000 angstrom approximately. This is the range of the UV visible spectroscopy. So when we will discuss about the IR, then I will tell you, but here roughly it is the 400 to 4000 centimeter inverse. Generally in UV visible spectroscopy it is represented by the lambda or wavelength, but in case of infrared spectroscopy it is represented as the nu bar or the wave number. Okay, I will discuss, and NMR also it is represented by radio frequency, normally 660 to 600 megahertz. Okay, so we'll discuss when we'll discuss each and every spectroscopy, then it will be more clear that what is the IR spectroscopy and what is the NMR spectroscopy. So you know that when one continuous light, like if it is the suppose it is a sun, okay, so when one continuous light is coming from the, I already discussed about that what is the continuous light in the atomic spectra or atomic structure chapter. Then I think if there is any confusion regarding the continuous spectrum, discontinuous spectrum, continuous light, then just go to that class and just try to understand what is the continuous light or what is the continuous spectra or discontinuous spectra, okay, from the atomic structure chapter. So now here, look here, that if any continuous light is coming from any source, then when it's split into different, when it's split, then it will produce the different wavelengths of the or different colors of the light. Okay, and different colors means each and every color, you know, it has a particular range or the particular wavelength. Actually, why we are getting the different colors for different wavelengths, isn't it? So different wavelengths means if you know that the light which are coming from the sun, then we can write down in this way that this is the VIV-GEOR. Okay, this is the VIV-GEOR. So if it is the VIV-GEOR and the range of the wavelength, it will be changed from 4000 approximately 4000 angstrom to 8000 angstrom. Okay, so now you have to understand that in this way wavelength increases, and I already told you what is the relationship between wavelength and the nu or the frequency. The relation between wavelength and the nu or frequency, it is the inversely proportional. That means if wavelength increases, then nu decreases. Again you know that E proportional to nu, isn't it? So if nu increases, then E increases. If nu decreases, then E decreases. Okay, so that means lambda or 1 by lambda, that proportional to again E. Okay, so that means if lambda increases, then obviously frequency or energy that will be decreased. Okay, so that means if we move from violet to a red light, then obviously its energy will be decreased, but wavelength will be increased. That things you have to keep in mind. This is very important fact. So this is the general spectrophotometer by which we can understand that which light is coming from the source after splitting. Continuous light so what is the basic principle of the UV visible spectroscopy? So first of all, when any continuous light, for example this is the source, and from here the continuous light is coming. So any continuous light, when it pass through a prism, then continuous light means which consists of the all possible wavelength within a given range. This is called the continuous light. Now when this continuous light pass through a prism, like this is the prism, then what happened? It split into its corresponding wavelengths. That means what wavelengths are present, we can see each and every wavelength as a different color. So that means different, after splitting different color, if this light pass through a sample, okay, any of the sample, then what happen if the sample absorb some lights or some wavelengths, okay, so some wavelength will be absorbed by the atoms or the molecules, okay, of the cell, isn't it? So then when the light coming out from the sample, look here, when the light coming out from the sample, then there would be some kinds of missing wavelength or missing lights are there, okay. So if the outcoming light from the sample, if it we take in a on a photographic plate, then what happen, the in the photographic plate we can, from the photographic plate we can understand that which lights or which wavelengths are missing. That means which wavelengths are absorbed by the sample, we can understand from the photographic plate. And what you will get in the photographic plate, this is called the absorption spectroscopy. The procedure is called the absorption spectroscopy. And what image, that means what image means what recorded image which will be on the photographic plate, this recorded image is called the spectrum. So this is the basic principle of the UV visible spectroscopy in a simple way, that if there is any kind of missing light in the light which is coming from the sample, that means that lights interact with the molecule, and by this interaction the lights are absorbed by the molecules. So this absorbed light or wavelength we have to identify, that which wavelengths are absorbed by the sample. From this data we can understand, I will show you how is it possible, we can understand that which groups are possible there in the compound, or which types of bonds are present in the groups. Now there may be some kinds of question arise that why light will be absorbed by the sample, or the light which is absorbed by the sample, in which purpose it will be used. I will show you that in which purpose it will be used, okay. So first of all, look here, that there will be if we check about that, there will be some kinds of absorption of the light when the light fall on the molecule like that. So if the energy gap means what is the energy gap? Energy gap means there will be some kinds of HOMO and LUMO. HOMO means what is the HOMO? I will show you what is the HOMO and what is the LUMO. Here, so look here, that what is the HOMO and what is the LUMO? HOMO means it is the highest occupied molecular orbital, okay. HOMO means it is the highest occupied molecular orbital, and LUMO means it is the lowest unoccupied molecular orbital. Now what happened at the ground state, that means when there is no application of the light or energy or like that, then what happened at the first stage, at the ground state, there are the 2 electrons present in the ground state, okay, and it is the HOMO. So here 2 electrons present, and the pi star, that means the LUMO, here there is no electrons present in the first stage. And for example, the energy gap between the HOMO and the LUMO, this is the delta E, for example. Now what light is coming from the outside, for example, this is the H nu. If H nu equals to delta E, then what happen? The light will be absorbed by the sample, because the distance between the HOMO and LUMO, that exactly match with the distance, means the energy gap exactly match with the light which is coming from the outside. Then what happened? Then immediately light will be absorbed by the sample, and 1 electron jump to the lower stage to higher stage. So for jumping of the electron from lower to higher stage, the energy or the wavelength or the radiation will be absorbed by the sample. So which radiation, the energy match with the energy gap, okay, this energy or this wavelength will be exactly match. That means this energy gap, it may match with the blue light, this may match with the yellow light, this may match with the red light, okay, because there are so many chances, because look here, there are so many types of energy range for each and every case. We can see here, if you see here carefully, look here, that there is a particular energy range for each and every compound, or each and every light here. So if you think about the violet, then it will be 400 to 420 nanometer. If you think about indigo, it will be 420 to 440 nanometer. If we think about the blue, green, yellow, orange, red, each and every light has a different wavelength. And I told you that with changing the wavelength, its energy will be changed, because you know that lambda, that inversely proportional to 1 by nu, and that also inversely proportional to 1 by E, because E equals to h nu. So if this is the relation, then what happened, that we can conclude that when we move from the violet to red, their wavelength increases but energy decreases. So it is not necessary that what energy that is coming from the different wavelengths that will match for each and every case. For example, in my sample or in your sample, what sample is there, their energy gap match with the green light. Okay, so what light is coming from the source, that light match with the green light. So only green light will be absorbed by the sample. So if there, look here, there are 7 light which is coming from the source, okay, 7 different radiation, okay. So there are 7 different radiation. For example, this is the violet, this is the indigo, this is the green, VIGO, PIGV, this is the blue, sorry, this is the blue, this is the blue, violet, indigo, blue, then green, then yellow, VIGO, GYO, orange, then R, red. Different lights are coming from the source, okay. Then if there is any kind of sample in the pathway of the radiation, okay, suppose this is the sample cell, okay, so then what happened, so what energy is suitable for the sample, that means there is some kinds of energy gap between the HOMO and LUMO of that compound, okay. So if this is the HOMO, and this is the LUMO. HOMO means highest occupied molecular orbital, and LUMO means lowest unoccupied molecular orbital. So if there is a particular energy gap, okay, so this is the, for example, delta E. So there are so many options here, okay, so violet, indigo, blue, green, yellow, orange, red. So with which light that delta E match, that means energy coming, there is a different energy associated with the different wavelengths or different radiation. So with which light this delta E match with, exactly that light will be utilized for the sample. Like for example, we are taking that for here blue light is suitable, for example, we are taking that blue light is suitable here for absorption of the sample. So just blue light come here and the electron absorb the blue light and it goes to the higher state. But when the light pass through the sample, then what happen here, violet will come, indigo will come, but blue will not come, yellow come, orange come, and red come. So look here blue light will not come. So if you place it in the photographic plate, any of the photographic plate, okay, then what happened, we can understand, okay, so here the blue light is missing, there is no blue light, blue is missing. And from this information we can understand, okay, so what sample we have, the energy gap between the HOMO and LUMO, this energy gap is matching exactly similar or matched with the energy associated with the blue light. and this information is very much identify that which type of groups are present or which types of compounds are responsible for this type of absorption. So this is the beautiful side of the UV visible spectroscopy for the identification of the compound. Now look here, there is another thing that with increasing the conjugation, you know, there is an homo-lumo. For example, this is the one compound, this is the one compound, this is the another compound, and this is the another compound. So you know, so here one pi bond first, in first case there is a one pi bond present, second case two pi bonds present, and third case there are three pi bonds present. Okay, so the interesting case, if you think about the pi bond, for each and every bond there will be one bonding and anti-bonding. So homo-lumo means this is basically bonding and anti-bonding. Okay, so if we draw here for the first case, it will be here, for example, it will be here. For the general case, it will be here. For example, it is the bonding, and we are considering only the pi bonds. Okay, so if we consider the only pi bonds, then it will be the pi 1. Pi 1 means it is the homo, and it is the pi 1 star, that means it is the lumo. But the second case, here will be two bonds, so that means there will be four number of homo and lumo. It will be pi 1, pi 2, then it can be pi 1 star, and it will be pi 2 star, because there are two pi bonds are there. If you consider the third case, there will be 6 number of bonding orbitals. Why 6 number? Because look there are 3 pi bonds are there. So here we can write down pi 1, pi 2, pi 3, then pi 1 star. Star means anti-bonding, you know, pi 2 star and pi 3 star. Okay, but what is the important fact here? If you put here just put here the electrons. Okay, so what are the electrons present here? Just give the electrons. So here I can write down for pi bond there are 2 electrons, 1 pi bond 2 electrons. There are 2 pi bonds, there will be 4 electrons. There are 3 pi bonds, so 1 pi bonds corresponding to 2 electrons, all of you know, because we are considering here only pi bonds. And for the third case, here is the total 6 electrons. Okay, so now what is the energy gap between homo and lumo? If you consider, look here, so for the first case, this is the energy gap, because this is the homo, pi 1 is the homo, and pi 1 star is the lumo. Homo means highest occupied molecular orbital, and lumo means lowest unoccupied molecular orbital. So what you are seeing here, that there the energy gap between the homo and lumo, that is gradually decreasing from left to right side. That means with increasing the conjugation, we can conclude that with increasing the conjugation, what we can tell, that the energy gap between homo and lumo, that will be decreased. So if there is an option like for the three, there are 3 compounds, like it is the A, for example, it is the B, and it is the C. There are 3 compounds. For the 3 compounds, there are 3 options of the light available. Okay, 3 options of the light means they are available like blue, like green, like yellow. For example, here it is mentioned in the question, for the 3 compounds A, B and C, blue, green and yellow, 3 lights are available, and one compound will absorb the one light. You have to identify which compound will absorb the which light. Okay, so look here at first of all, from left to right, A to B to C, their energy difference decreases. That means lower energy light will be absorbed by the sample. Lower energy means higher wavelength, and already you know, I discussed with you that there is from VIVGEOR. If you think about the VIVGEOR, okay, if you think about the VIVGEOR, then what you see, if you write down that VIVGEOR, then we can write down, it starts with the 4000 angstrom, to approximately 8000 angstrom. That means we can conclude that from left to right their lambda increases. If lambda increases, then E will be decreases. Obviously, I told you, if lambda increases, then obviously E energy decreases. So that means in our question, there was there was blue, green and yellow. Okay, so just if you think here, if you highlight the three lines or three wavelengths, blue, green and yellow. Okay, so if it is blue, green and yellow, then what happened from left to right, which wavelength has the which light has the higher energy? Left to right, their E decreases. So if left to right E decreases, so yellow has the lower energy, low, and blue has the high energy. If you compare the three case, blue, green and green is the middle energy. Okay, so in which case maximum energy required, this will be blue. That means in which case the HOMO-LUMO gap is the maximum, there blue light will be absorbed, and where HOMO-LUMO gap is the minimum, there yellow light will be absorbed. So now come to this page and look here, that in the first case energy gap between HOMO-LUMO is the maximum. So here blue light will be absorbed, and in the last case here yellow light will be absorbed. In the middle case here green light will be absorbed, because the look here that blue light has the maximum energy, or it is associated with the maximum energy gap, compound H associated with the maximum energy gap. So here blue light work good, because blue light associated with the maximum energy, but yellow light associated with the minimum energy, hence it will be applicable for the compound C. So look here, what is the outcome of this observation? That if you have the three compounds, a different chain length, or that means or differ the conjugation, then what happened finally? We can identify the compounds depending on their absorption of the light, isn't it? So this is the most beautiful side of the UV visible spectroscopy. We can identify by observing the absorption of the light very easily by observing the that energy gap, or by identifying the energy gap between HOMO and LUMO. Now, depending on the region, there are actually three types of total UV visible region can be classified, or can be divided into the separated into the different region. Starting from first one is the visible region, that works from the 4000 to the 7500 angstrom, or 400 nanometer to 750 nanometer. Another is the near UV region. This is the 200 to 400 nanometer. Okay, and far UV region, that is below 200 nanometer. This is the rough distribution of the region. Overall, what energy is required for the electronic transition, for here to here. Okay, or it is the different case. For here to here, what energy is required? In this case, that match with the energy which is coming from the UV visible region. That's why the energy will be absorbed by the sample. So now look here that there are different energy range also here. If you check it properly, then look here that there are some kinds of radio frequency where higher wavelength it is applicable for NMR. Okay, when we'll discuss about the NMR spectroscopy, then you'll see it will be applicable. There is some microwave rotational spectroscopy for this region. From left to right, the wavelength decreases. That means the energy increases. Okay, this is the very basic graph by which we can understand that how the energy and wavelength are interrelated. And what absorption occur in the sample, that according to the Lambert-Beer's law. Okay, this is the Lambert-Beer's law. In case of Lambert-Beer's law, absorbance, that means what amount of light, or the suppose light means if you take it as a photon that is absorbed, that equals to, that absorbance A equals to log I0 by I. Okay, so what is the epsilon is the, I will tell you what is the epsilon. Before that, I0 is the intensity or the incident light. Okay, intensity of the incident light, that means what a light is coming from the source. That intensity of the light of that intensity of that light is called actually, or is represented as the I0, and I is the intensity of the transmitted light. Transmitted light means which light is coming out from the sample. So I0, that coming that fall on the sample, the intensity of the light which fall on the sample, and I, intensity of the transmitted light. C is the concentration of the sample. So for from this A equal to log I0 by equal to epsilon CL, we can write down also that A is equal to epsilon CL. Epsilon is the molar absorptivity, or it is the molar extension coefficient. Okay, epsilon is the molar absorptivity or molar extension coefficient, and C is the concentration of the sample, and A is the length of the pathway. Okay, that what pathway have to cross the light. Okay. So this is the rough expression of the Lambert-Beer's law, and actually light is absorbed by the sample by the Lambert-Beer's law. Now come to the point that what is the chromophore? Chromophore is the any group or atoms that absorb or that is mainly responsible for absorption. Okay, so chromophore is the any group or atom that absorb light whether or not color is thereby produced. Okay, so in the different way, or it is also, there is some examples also, the examples of the chromophore. Look here, so there are some different kinds of groups. Okay, like it is the group, it is the acid group, then CN group. These groups are actually responsible for the absorption. Okay, these groups are called actually chromophore, and by the absorption of the light we can understand that what is the range or region of absorption of the light, or region means what is the energy region or the wavelength region. So chromophore in which the group contains the pi electron, they undergo pi to pi star. What I just showed you, that there will be pi to pi star transition which group contain the pi electrons. Such chromophores are ethylene, acetylene, etc. So which are responsible for absorption of the light, these groups are called actually chromophore. Okay. So normally absorption of the UV visible photons, invisible for light means obviously it is the photons, by molecules result in the electronic excitation of molecule with the chromophores. Okay. So now come to the point that there are different types of cases, or different types of change of the absorption. So first of all, I already told you that if we move from the, this is also this is the example, that if we move from the suppose if we move from the ethylene to butadiene to any other high conjugation group, then what happened from left to right? What happened from left to right? Look here, the wavelength of the absorption will be decreased. Why? Wavelength of the absorption will be increased. Why? Because the energy gap, look here, energy gap, that energy gap is decreased, so that means lambda will be increased in this order. So lambda increases. Okay, so that means if we move, or if we proceed from left to right side, then lambda increases and energy decreases. In the opposite direction, if we move from the left to right, then what happen? The lambda decreases with increasing the energy. That means we can conclude in this way that if the structure of the compounds, or if the overall conjugation is changing, then what happens? There are different kinds of change of the absorption occur. These kind of changes are called actually different kinds of shift. Okay, for example, there are two kinds of shift. If we plot wavelength versus, because this is the actually your graph of the UV visible spectrophotometer, that wavelength versus absorbance. Okay, so molar absorption coefficient, or generally we can take it the absorbance. Okay, so generally we plot the graph in this way, that it is the A versus lambda. So wavelength means it is the lambda. Okay, so now look here, that the peak indicates that peak indicates here maximum absorption occur. So that's why it is also called lambda max. Okay, so the peak indicates that here maximum absorption occur, and that's why it is called the lambda max. Now look here, if we change the compound from left side to right side, okay, then what happen? The lambda will be increased, and this increasing, or this shift called, like if we move from ethylene to butadiene, then there will be a shift, and this shift actually called bathochromic shift. So what is the bathochromic shift? Bathochromic shift means it is the increasing wavelength. Okay, so left to right here wavelength increases, so that means bathochromic shift is called actually it is the increasing wavelength. So opposite direction will be, if we move from butadiene to ethylene, there the if we move from butadiene to ethylene, then what happened here? The wavelength value will be decreased, because here the energy value increased, so lambda will be decreased. So this is the opposite direction. This is called the hypsochromic shift. Okay, so in the left hand direction, this is called the hypsochromic shift. So there are two kinds of shift we are getting. One is the bathochromic, another is the hypsochromic, depending on the increasing the wavelength or decreasing the wavelength. Now come to the another fact, that it is depending on the x-axis, either wavelength decreases or increases, or depending on this fact. So if you follow the y-axis, then also there are some kind of fact which is the absorbance. So if absorbance increases, what is the meaning of absorbance increases? For example, if the sample is very, very concentrated, then there greater number of photon required to be for the transmission of all the electrons. If there is a concentrated sample, their high molecules, number of molecules will be high, number of electrons will be high. So greater number of photons are required for the transmission of the electrons from lower to higher stage, or for jumping of the electrons from lower to higher stage, isn't it? So that means if it is the highly concentrated solution, there will be higher absorption, because higher number of photons are required to transfer the electrons from lower energy level to higher energy level, or HOMO to LUMO. So that means in this stage, their absorption increases, and the absorption increases. This phenomena is called the hyperchromic shift. You have to keep in mind that hyperchromic shift means it is the increasing the absorption, and on the other hand, hypochromic shift, this is the decreasing the absorption. That means if the solution is very, very dilute, then there less number of photons are sufficient to promote all the electrons from HOMO to LUMO. So in this case, absorption will be decreased. So this is called the hypochromic shift. Okay, so there are two kinds of shift. One is the hyperchromic, another is the hypochromic. This also you have to keep in mind, because this is very, very, very important for your exam purpose. Bathochromic shift, this is the increasing the wavelength. Hypsochromic shift, this is the decreasing the wavelength, and hyperchromic increasing the absorption, and hypochromic it decreasing the absorption. Okay, so these things you have to keep in mind. This is very, very important, and this is the chart. You can take a snapshot of this chart. This will help you to keep in mind that what is the change of the absorption with its corresponding changing, either increasing the wavelength or absorbance, or like that. Okay, so now we'll move to the most important part, that what are the applications of the UV visible spectroscopy, or why we are studying the UV visible spectroscopy. So first of all, we can understand this is for the qualitative analysis. That means this technique is generally used to characterize the aromatic compounds. What I showed you, that there are different kinds of chromophores are involved for the absorption, and different kinds of chromophores are responsible for absorption of the light in different wavelength. Okay, so for qualitative analysis, this is very important. We can understand that different types of groups, alpha, beta, gamma conjugation, and different types of things we can understand from the spectroscopic technique. Second thing, detection of the impurity. Okay, so this is the another method by which we can detect the impurity. Okay, so the main reason that if there is any impure sample, that means any sample which present, which is in the pure sample, any foreign compound present, then what happen, will get some extra peak, isn't it? So defined kinds of the defined lambda max value for the impurities can be easily identified. If there is any impurity present in your sample, we can identify by the different lambda max value. Okay, so that's why we can understand the presence, or we can detect the impurity by the absorption. Okay, so we can detect the impurities in the sample also. Third, quantitative analysis, we can also, this is very much helpful for the quantitative analysis. You have to keep in mind this fact, because in the time of your estimation of the substance in a solution, for determination of concentration of a substance, the wavelength of maximum absorption, what I told you in the time of with increasing the absorption and decreasing the absorption, that means hypochromic shift and the hyperchromic shift, that I told you that this is very much related with the concentration. For if there is a highly concentrated solution, their maximum absorption with respect to the low concentration sample, we can differentiate between that two. And another thing is that chemical kinetics, we can also measure the kinetics of the sample. How is it possible? Is it possible that during the reaction we can take the UV visible spectrum, we can take the sample from the reactant and as well as the product, then we'll check the lambda max value will be gradually decreased from the lambda max value will be gradually decreased for the reactant with time, and lambda max value will be gradually increased for the product, because in the reaction mixture, you know, at the first stage there is no product, so you will not get any kind of lambda max peak for the sample. Okay, for the product. But with time, you know, then when product is produced gradually, you will get some peaks of the product. Then with time, when more and more product will be produced or generated, then what happen, that concentration of the product will be increased, and I told you that absorbance will be increased. If absorbance will be increased, the peak will be more sharp, the peak height will be more. And on the other hand, opposite thing will be applicable for the reactant. That means with time, the concentration of the reactant will be decreased, so the peak height will be decreased with time. So in this way, we can determine the kinetics of the sample. So these are the applications of the UV visible spectroscopy. This you have to keep in mind. So that you in your case, in for BTech syllabus, there's a very small, your syllabus is very brief. Okay, so what I discussed with you, only these things are included in your syllabus according to the UV visible spectroscopy. Like you have to know the basic principle, you have to know the different kinds of terms, you have to know lambda, nu bar, okay, etc. You have to know the what is the chromophore, you have to know that how we can change, or it is changed the wavelength from with increasing the conjugation. The different kinds of shifts are there, you have to know, and you have to know the application of the UV visible spectroscopy. So this that's all about your the syllabus of your UV visible spectroscopy. Okay, and I will meet with you in the next class with the IR spectroscopy. Goodbye, take care.